Today, I interview Adam Childs on the Manufacturing Leaders podcast. Adam is the Operations Director at Daikin Applied, based up in Cramlington. What an episode this is. Adam is a brilliant example of a passionate and driven leader who empowers his staff. We go through his journey in great detail, from Apprentice Mechanic to senior level management roles within manufacturing. We talk about the importance that lean techniques and continuous improvement has had in his career so far, and how crucial it is to mind your own mindset through tough times. Adam's personality is infectious. You're going to learn a lot from this one. I hope you enjoy it. Adam, massive warm welcome to the Manufacturing Leaders podcast. Absolute pleasure to have you on. Always start off the same way. What does it mean to you to be a leader?
It's a difficult one. So I've given this some thought because I've listened to some of your podcasts, and I was not shocked, but intrigued at how everyone's given a different answer, yet they're all as equally as good as each other. Yep. And I think it highlights the importance of being able to be flexible and being able to adapt. So as a leader, you need to be able to deal with any given situation at any given time. So, depending on where you are in the business or personally, this is how you answer that question. But reflecting my past experiences, I've always had a common thread, as it were, or theme of how I lead. And this is bear with me on this. I'm not work shy, but ultimately develop and lead my team. I want my team to be capable of managing and looking after themselves, dealing with any situation, hitting their targets, understand their processes without needing me. When I get to that point, as a leader, I raise the bar. I move the goalposts, stretch them. But so ultimately be flexible, but then it's also being able to delegate and push your team forward.
Yeah, I like that. I think it's it, Nick. I think the best leaders create leaders, don't they? I think.
Yeah.
And I like the flexibility, and I always love the answers to these because I always learn from each one, just like I have there. And they always resonate because you're right. Difficult, and mind you can't have a plan your day, can you? Because something happens and you've got to be flexible, you've got to be agile, and I guess you start to learn to accept that's just part of the gig and that's just what you sign up for. But it's difficult at first, isn't it?
At first, yeah, it's very difficult. It's very difficult. You need to learn to be able to adapt, but you need to learn to delegate.
Yeah.
I think everyone when they start out in management would rather do it themselves because they've got time to tell someone how to do it, or don't think they're going to do it as good as well as you, but you'll just burn yourself out. 100%. But we're always learning.
Yeah, exactly that. Great stuff, mate. So look, let's take it right back. And obviously you're not from the area, not from the Northeast like myself. You're an outsider. So let's take it right back to early days. Where you're from?
Yeah.
Where it all began.
Yeah, it's right back early days. Yeah, strap in. Here we go. I'm born in Essex.
Yep.
Grew up in Essex, raised in Essex. And I started working as an apprentice. I despised school. It wasn't a nice time for me personally. I struggled at school. I done all right with GCSEs, but I wasn't allowed to leave. My dad wouldn't let me leave without a trade. Yeah, so I ended up, in fact, my mum and dad, and I rang them up last night to confirm because I wasn't quite sure, but and my mum confirmed. She was wondering why I was asking this question, but they drove my application form for the apprenticeship to the company and dropped it off at the security hut because it was the deadline day.
Oh, really?
And I was a lazy teenager and didn't fill the form in, and they drove up to Stansted Airport and handed it into the security guard. But somehow I got made the selection and got through, and I started working for a company called FLS Aerospace, which was then SR Technics. I'd done an apprenticeship and I was an aircraft mechanic in the workshops.
Right.
And I spent 12 years there, 12 happy years. I'd done my 5-year apprenticeship, was on the tools, and then I got into Lean Six Sigma. So I was one of the first lads on the shop floor to do green belt training. Then I've done Six Sigma black belt training. I got involved with the continuous improvement team, still working on the tools, but just helping out with Kaizen events and participating in training events. And then they shut the facility. We got made redundant, and there was opportunities to stay within the business. That wasn't for me, but there was also because being an aircraft mechanic, there was a lot of opportunities to go to the rail sector. A lot of my friends went Network Rail, and Eurostar, and London Underground and whatnot. But I took a complete gamble and I moved up north. I went to Yorkshire. I worked at a company in Sheffield. They're now based in Rotherham, to MTL. And for some reason, the boss there, Dr. Henry Sherman, he saw something in me and took a gamble. He took me on as a CI team lead or CI manager, or might have been even called a Six Sigma black belt. It was a bit of a strange job title. And I started working in Yorkshire. I was living in a bed and breakfast for 6 months.
Oh.
And I didn't have a clue really how I was going to do this because I'd always been a mechanic.
Yeah.
But the day I started working in Sheffield was the day they announced they're going to move to a bigger facility in Rotherham. And after a couple of weeks, the MD took me to one side and said, "Listen, CI is really important, but we need you. There's no point doing any more activities while we're doing this move. Can you help us out?" So, I rolled my sleeves up and got involved with moving the facility. And I was there 5 years, and I loved it. And there, when they asked me to be the quality manager, and honestly, I didn't want to do it. But again, it was my boss Henry convinced me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was daunting because I never been involved in quality.
Yeah.
But I told him made it clear I've got no experience of managing people or in quality or ISO. I was aware of the ISO standards, but he said, and I remember what he said to me. He said, "You don't have to be a good sailor to be a good captain. The best sailors don't necessarily make the best captains." He says, "Trust yourself." And he sent me to Sheffield Hallam as well. Day release. He said, "Part of this, I'll send you off to do a degree." So at the age of 28, 29, went back to school, which I wasn't too happy about, but I did enjoy it later on in life. So I started doing a degree while I was there. Unfortunately, there was some change within the business. Henry left, and an opportunity I come across an opportunity to move to a company called Airedale in Leeds. So I moved further up the country, and I started there as a quality manager. And I was there for a year, and my then boss, who is now my boss again, Clive
Really?
Parkman, he asked me, and with the ops director there, they asked me if I'd be willing to run their sister plant up in Concert, which is Barkel, and I'd be responsible for the full P&L. For personal reasons and other reasons, I thought, why not?
Yeah.
Give it a go. So I'd gone from quality manager to then general manager, looking after the whole lot, sales, the engineering team, manufacturing, purchasing, the lock stock. So I moved, and I was also still studying. So I was driving up to Concert on a Monday, staying overnight up in digs in Berkeley, staying in digs, traveling back down on a Wednesday to go to uni, back up Thursday morning, back home Friday, and doing a degree. So it was very busy, very challenging. But I was given a very strict remit. It was very black and white, to a point where my job was left open at Leeds. If I was to fail or if anything was to go wrong, I'd just go back to Leeds. That was the plan. But I was there 6 years, and so we had 6 years, year-on-year improvement, and it was amazing. And I loved the place, and still think fondly of the place. But then again, after 6 years, I think it was May last year or early last year, I per chance come across Clive, and me and Clive and myself paths crossed. We got speaking, and he offered me an opportunity for new challenge, new challenges, but also opportunity. It gave me the opportunity to progress, but stay in the area, which is quite at this level now I'm at. It's quite difficult. If you're going to move, you'd normally means packing up and relocating.
Yeah.
So I moved here to Daikin. I've been here since May. Yeah, love the place. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah,
amazing.
Great place to work. Potential is massive.
Yeah,
masses of potential, which is exciting. So that's the path. It's and when I looked at it, I thought, yeah, okay. And what's strange? I still don't know what I want to do today as a career.
We never do we? There's loads to unpack there. I thought a really fascinating journey. Did you find when you were reflecting last night that is it almost like wow, God, that happened before without me even thinking about it? Do you know what I mean? Because that's a very quick progression. That I would say, really quick.
And I think, you know, I've been very lucky. I've been very lucky. But then I was thinking, I can't think of the sportsman who says it, but you know, the harder he trains, the luckier he gets.
Yeah,
I suppose
Michael
professionally,
Jordan.
was
Yeah,
it Mug? Yeah,
might have
and
been.
I
Yeah,
think, look,
the,
yeah, but I think the harder you work, the
yeah.
more opportunities
You create your own
that
luck. Yeah,
you come across. Yeah, yeah,
100% that. There's always an element of right place, right time. You've got to get yourself in the right place. It's simple as that, haven't you? So no.
yeah. And I've taken gambles. You know, moving up to Yorkshire was a massive gamble. I mean,
Yeah.
going from mechanic to then into a CI position
Yeah.
was like, what am I doing?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But I just, yeah, it was, and also I love work. I love being on the tools. So it was a bit, oh, it
And that's what
was
people say,
difficult.
don't they? Which I massively agree with. That it's a much bigger risk not taking certain risks than taking them, because
Yeah,
a bigger risk is regretting it. And obviously, you've taken everything that's come your way, and here you are, which is amazing. I mean, look, loads to unpack there. Fascinating journey. You think the fact that, and I put myself in that bracket. I didn't enjoy school, and it probably took me a while to know what I wanted to do. Can you think of a time where almost something switched and did you suddenly become and feel passionate about the tools and engineering, or was it a sort of natural sort of
yeah,
progression?
yeah. Well. So just to put a bit of background to it, that my last year of my university degree, I got diagnosed with dyslexia,
Right.
which at the time the lecturer collared me, and I didn't think it was important that I got tested. But when I did get tested, it came back, yeah, you've got dyslexia. I felt it was quite humbling to be told by the guy who tested me. Said, you know, you've had to work extra hard
Yeah,
to get these
absolutely.
grades at school.
Uh-huh.
So that was quite humbling. But what when it switched for me was getting involved with
Okay.
lean Six Sigma, but not necessarily Six Sigma and SPC analysis, which is all good stuff, but just the basics of lean. You know, just the root cause analysis. You know, PDCA, DMAIC process. You know, just the 5S, all those sort of tools, which and they're not very difficult, but they're so effective, and you just get it. You know, when you do the training, and then you put it into practice, and you see people go, ah, this works.
Yeah.
That's what I enjoy. I enjoy the continuous improvement side of things, and that's probably where it switched. When I knew I wasn't just going to be a mechanic, was when I done the green belt training, because I
Right.
just wanted to do more.
Yeah.
And when I moved here to Daikin, I put through about 25 people through 5S training,
Did
and I
you?
took part. Oh,
Brilliant.
you know, I've done it a couple of times. I took part just so I could be involved with the guys who were doing it,
Yeah, learn
to
with
show
them.
them that I was invested in it and I was with them on the
Yeah.
journey. But yeah, lean is probably the big thing
And
for
I've
me.
seen there's many sort of common themes after doing these for whatever 25, 26 episodes now, and so many people who mention lean practitioners are just
Really?
engrossed. Yeah, 100%. It's a common theme, and then it's not only something that they do when it works, it's a passion, and the most of them then take it into outside life, because I guess it's effective as in as it is
Yeah.
outside.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm always telling my kids when we go to Subway, you know,
Yeah.
look at that process, look at that process flow. There's no bottlenecks. And shut up, Dad.
They'll do it in a few years. What's brilliant about it as well is the fact you can, and this is what I love about management, is you can take that and you can apply that to any management role you do. Do you know what I mean? That
Yeah,
you can, you've obviously moved from
yeah,
different types of
yeah,
companies, different industries. It's
yeah,
it's it's
yeah,
all transferable, isn't it? Massively.
yeah. You can, and it goes back to what my old boss Henry said. You know, you don't have to be a good sailor to be a good captain,
Love it.
because you know you get some good management tools, or you get some good leadership tools under your belt, and you can apply them to anywhere. Just to
Yeah.
tweak them and adjust them slightly to the given situation. But you know, these tools work.
Yeah,
You know,
100%.
that's good.
Thinking back to when obviously you took that, it's a big old step to move out the area to a job you don't know anyone, etc.
Yeah,
Did it feel scary at the time, or did it just feel like something? Because
yeah,
did it? So
yeah.
yeah,
Terrified.
because
Yeah,
sometimes when
yeah,
we're
yeah.
younger, it's almost we've got this fake, this bravado, haven't we? But yeah,
And I'm very different. I don't know why, but I'm very different at work to who I am at home.
Okay.
So at work, I'm quite a large character.
Yeah.
I feel more confident at work.
Yeah.
At home, I'm a bit introvert. You know, I'm not the loud one. I'm
Yeah.
I'm the quiet one, just watching and to move. You know, my wife does all the talking for me and her, and it's when we
Same.
go out. But
Yeah.
yeah, but you know, if we go somewhere new, she's the one who meets people, introduces people, and does that. But I was very scared with moving. But
Yeah.
uh, oh yeah, I've loved it. You know, working in Yorkshire, I love working in Yorkshire. Sheffield was my favourite city. Sheffield, until I moved up here, Newcastle overtook it. But
Place of birth.
I
Yeah.
love
So,
that.
yeah.
Is it? Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I loved Sheffield. Absolutely loved Sheffield. Great place, great place. And then even around the surrounding areas, you know, I loved up there. And then I've moved up here, up to Newcastle, to Northeast, and gone. Oh, you know, why has no one told me about this place?
Well, same.
Because
Yeah. I
it's
mean, I loved. I mean, I was in Sheffield till I was 18, 19, and been up here
yeah.
for 20 years, and I love the Northeast now. It's home. Have you seen, culturally the differences? I guess living, working. Essex, Sheffield, Northeast. But what do you think the key sort of differences there are there? We said.
You know what? I'm going to give you an underwhelming answer to this, um, because I've been very lucky
Uh-huh.
to work around many areas around the world as well as in the country, and I've worked with loads of people from around the world at the airport.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about working with people and the culture, etc., of the people, when you boil it down, there's not much difference
Yeah.
with the people,
Uh,
because when you get down in the bait room or the snack room or your tea break, you know, all these words we have for lunch break, when you sit in these areas and talk to people, everyone wants the same. They want to have a laugh, they want to have a few pounds to go and watch the match or enjoy their hobby,
Yeah.
you know, provide for their family and have a happy life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, if whether you've come from the Middle East, if you come from Africa, America, we all wanting the same thing, and we all just want to get on and build relationships.
Yeah.
So culturally with the people, I don't see any different from working with the Geordies to working with the lads from Sheffield. You know, there's just a different football team.
Yeah. Yeah.
If
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
Sheffield United or Sheffield Wednesday, if it's Sunderland or if it's
Yeah.
Newcastle or in Essex for us, you know, all the London clubs. But
Yeah.
ultimately with the people are people. We all just want to get on and be happy.
Yeah. I
But
like it. Mhm.
the area is something special, and I don't really want to talk about it because I don't want people to realise how amazing it is up here.
So it's a
But
hidden gem, isn't it? Yeah, particularly the beaches that North.
I surf since I've moved up here, and I
Yeah,
didn't ever
well,
think
time off
I
that.
did
Yeah.
ever think. Yeah,
Yeah.
I actually watch surf where I live in Shields, South Shields, part of the surf club, and the community down there is amazing. But you know, you can be 5 minutes, you can be on the beach. 5 minutes, you can be in the middle of the city.
Yeah. Love it.
You know,
I'm exactly the same.
it's
Yeah.
incredible. It's an
Completely.
incredible place, and there's a lot of good businesses up here that are
Yeah.
just sort of tucked out of the way, and you think, oh, didn't know they were here. Oh.
Yeah, it is. And manufacturing, it's the Northeast. It's brilliant. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's so much happening. There's so much
Yeah,
to happen. I mean, that's why it was a huge shame with British Vaults, because the positive knock-on effects that could have had for the supply chain could have been phenomenal. So
yeah,
it is. I mean, there's still challenges, isn't there? Which we'll talk about. But it's a real. I think it's a real hub and a real powerhouse for manufacturing
yeah.
Northeast.
Yeah, it is. It's good to see. Yeah, it's good to see manufacturing. I'm not going to say thriving because times are been tough at the moment, but it's good to see
Yeah.
that there's
Oh,
still that strong
it's
the strong sector. It is.
it needs more support. It needs more. Do you know what I mean? Because it's still, that is a problem, unfortunately. Northeast as a sector, I still think funding available, general support, government. It's not necessarily at the top of the priority list. So it's one
Yeah,
of those.
it's not particularly attractive,
Yeah, that's it. That's the it is. It's a problem.
and
Yeah,
and that's be our own downfall. Being in manufacturing, we're not, you know, we're good at marketing, but we don't. We're good at marketing to who we need to
yeah.
sell to, but we're not. Doesn't attract the youngsters. They don't want to
Very
work in
interesting.
factories.
Exactly that. No, 100%. And this is something I'm passionate about, because it doesn't attract the youngsters because they don't know about it. Do you know what I mean?
No,
It's
yeah,
I still think they think it's almost like a dirty, literally a dirty sector where people get into if they can't get anything, where people walk around your Nissans and most sites northeast. I'm like, every time I love factory tours. Like,
I love a factory tour.
Kids would be amazed by that, and not at 15, because they probably know what they want to do by then. But at 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, walking around, do you know what I mean? And then later in life, maybe 13, 14, they'll understand a little bit more and the salaries you can earn and that type of stuff. I mean, that's the time, isn't it? It does need more.
Yeah, and that's a shame, and that's why it's probably hard. That's one of the reasons why it's so hard, is to get the talent, the talent through the doors.
Huge
and
problem.
Keeping it.
Huge problem.
Yeah.
In terms of on the management side, obviously you were thrust into the limelight of management, like you say, quite quickly. What was it like transition, would you say, between, I guess, one of the lads, on the tools, to suddenly managing people? Because that's a real tough transition that a lot of people, are probably going through right now listening. It's a difficult one.
Yeah, I think if I hadn't moved businesses, it would have been extremely tough.
Yeah, it's a complete.
I think again, if I was within the same business and I'm a senior manager of lads who I was their apprentice, it wouldn't sit right for me. It'd be a bit uncomfortable. I mean, I started getting into the realms of supervision at SR Technics, and it felt really uncomfortable. Talking to people about sick and whatnot. It was only like 8 years ago, and he was telling me how to teach me how to lock wire and whatnot. So but I moved. I've not just moved company. I moved up, relocated up the country, so no one knew who I was or what I was about. But being young was quite difficult because you're not. Your opinion is not really
respect levels, isn't it?
Yeah, you need to. Yeah, it's harder to gain that respect, but that's understandable. You need to prove yourself.
Yeah.
So making the transition is difficult, but everyone has their own journey in that, and I think everyone learns as they go. And as a senior manager at MTL, used to, he made it clear, just say, look, do what you think's right until someone tells you otherwise, because he says no one knows. No one knows the right answer. We're just making educated guesses as to what the best answer is. Absolutely. And if no one's pulled you on it, then you're probably doing the right thing.
We're all winging it. Yeah.
I think we're winging it. Yeah, and sometimes, and it don't be. And now I know that I'm not shy to let people know that. Listen, I don't know the answer here, lads. You tell me. I'll support you, but I don't know the answer. But when you first start out, you feel like you need to know the answer, and you put a lot of pressure on yourself to have the answer. And probably then you make more mistakes there because you're always putting it on yourself.
100%. I was going to ask you about that, because I think the transparency piece is a real interesting one, isn't it? Because there's levels of how transparent are you, and I think it almost rolls into sort of mindset, and I still struggle with that sometimes, because I wake up and go, no, I'm not on it today. Do you know what I mean? And I guess there's almost something the manager almost have to put on that bravado and that face and act, because they'll see that, but at the same time, whether that's right or wrong, that's what I personally try to do. But I'm still try to be transparent when I make mistakes. But there is a level, isn't there, sometimes? Because do you know what I mean? You need to be the leader as well. So it's I think that's a real tricky balance. Don't know if you find that.
Yeah, it is. I think just be honest. I think you've just got to be honest and hold your hands up. But you've got to hold yourself to account, even if you make a mistake. And I've made a few mistakes. I mean, not many, but I've made a few. But when you do make those mistakes, don't try and cover it up. Own it, and make it clear that I've made a mistake. And you own that mistake, and because then people will think, right, okay, they don't feel they need to cover up their mistakes, which can cause more problems to yourself. It's interesting. It's interesting.
And I guess, like I say, it almost trickles into the mentality piece. And I think being a manager is hard, and when I'm trying to train my guys now, I'm kind of making them aware that are you up for this? Because it's not for everyone, and it's really difficult. And I think it can be draining. And I've kind of learned over time to almost work on myself outside of work to make sure that I'm as best version as I can and stuff. I mean, have you ever found, it tricky and challenging, or have you always felt you?
So again, back in early days, you felt like you always had to have a bravado, and you were thick-skinned and nothing penetrated you, and that's not healthy. It's not healthy for you as an individual, and it's not good for people to see
Yeah.
see you like that. But yeah, I've over the last it's probably been over the last it's probably been just before COVID. I'd kind of I don't sound I've kind of nailed it. I've got my work-life balance sorted.
Yeah.
When I was early days, very stressful.
Yeah.
I was a very stressy person. I'd come home.
Yeah.
It's not nice to admit, but you'd be a bit, slamming the cupboards and
Yeah.
shouting
Yeah.
and getting
Be
and
sure.
flying off the handle. Yeah, being
Yeah.
short,
Uh-huh.
not horrible, but it was difficult because you would take all that stuff on and there was no outlet. But
Yeah.
then, I found, recently, the gym and surfing.
Yeah.
That's what it is for me. And
Nice.
I've come to realize it's just have time, give yourself time to do something where you're not expected to make a decision, or you're not expected to just give people's direction. You can just be,
Yeah.
but just you're allowed to be. So you're either just swinging a kettlebell as per your PT's instructors telling you, or you're just sitting on your board out the back of the waves and you're just clearing your head. Because then during those moments, before, I can finish work, the wife will give me a call, say, oh, I've had a nightmare today. She would say, get yourself to the gym. And literally you walk in the door, you do what you need to do, and you walk out and it's all then you'd be talking to the wife, you're better now. You go, oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, what's happened there? I've not made any decision, nothing's happened. I just feel better because my
Yeah.
head's been allowed to clear. And sometimes in those moments when you're left alone to be and just do what you need to do without having to think about anything, new ideas and answers pop into your head, and just where you're thinking, oh yeah, that's what I'm going to do, or this is the direction I'm going to take. And they only come to you when you clear your head. And
Yeah.
if you don't clear your head, sometimes you're just a busy fool.
Yeah.
So very rarely you'll see me in the office now 7, 8 o'clock at night. It doesn't happen now. It used to.
Yeah.
I'd work and work and work. And it's only this morning I was talking to HR. I said, we could work 24 hours a day. I would never get finished.
Mm-hmm.
So we
Never,
just
yeah,
have to,
never enough hours. Yeah.
yeah, you never do I finish my to-do list.
Yeah.
So you just have to accept that,
Yeah.
make time for yourself. So, I'd encourage, I challenge my staff. Look, get yourself off because you're not going to finish it tonight. Get yourself off. Have a good evening. Come in tomorrow and here they're fresh.
Yeah.
So, I leave now pretty much on time, an hour max late. But then that gives me time to go to the gym, go surfing if the conditions are right, see the kids, cook a dinner, sit down with people. And then when the wife puts her blooming TV on, I might flick through a few emails then,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
just get ready for the day ahead. And that helps me mentally because I discovered that pre-COVID, then COVID hit and we couldn't go to the gym and
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't get out of surfing. And I was going through some personal issues and with supply chain issues that probably all the guys you've had on went through it.
Yeah.
There were people who were genuinely terrified and scared, didn't know, and they were asking me, which I found fascinating. These guys in their late 50s were coming to me and saying, "What are we doing? What should I do?" And I'm thinking, I'm in the same boat as you here.
We've got
I
an
haven't
answer.
got a clue,
Yeah.
but we'll just do what we can. And during that time, I started suffering from anxiety attacks, which was new to me because I never thought I've always been very thick-skinned, very casual, so I do everything. But during that COVID time, wow, it's like things just hit you, and you couldn't. There was no release because you were at home or in your office alone because everyone else was either at home or spread out. There was no interaction. So, but now we're out of that time. Back gym, back surf. The supply chain is getting there. Once
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Ukraine
Yeah.
issues settle down, they'll settle down, and I can see it now. Everyone's starting to find their groove again. Everyone's getting their mojo, getting the rhythm back.
Yeah.
I feel a lot better, but I'm very conscious now of that time. I'm very aware of, is anyone in my team? We don't know what's going on at home, but you just always in my mind, I'm thinking there could be something going on. So be conscious of that before I just go steaming in.
Yeah.
And don't expect people to be working ridiculous hours because you'll just burn them out and it's no good for you or good for them or good for you as a business or personally.
100%. You know what, man? I don't tend to talk too much about myself in here because I think this is about you and your know. But everything you said there, it makes, is like talking to a mirror. The whole experience you had through COVID, your whole mentality for everything, your whole process dealing with it, exactly the same as me. And funny actually, because I almost adapted. I was doing I used to do a lot of sort of weightlifting type stuff, and I didn't get a release there because I was in between sets checking my emails, and so I went to boxing and running and things where I can't do that. And it's just your mind just is clear because you're not.
Yeah,
there's no distractions there, and 100% agree. And exactly the same. COVID was a petrifying time, and we did fine out of it in the end. But the first week, where all that uncertainty was.
Yeah.
I mean, literally. I mean, that's probably the worst. Two of the worst days of my life when there was no furlough, wasn't a word. None of this sort of stuff. And like you say, people, and when you've got people's jobs at stake, and you're going to have to be the one to tell them if that is the case. I mean, I remember literally making a list of what would have to do, and then thankfully everything was fine. But yeah, that taught me a lot about myself as well. That I can go to those pretty dark levels of anxiety and thoughts.
It was
got to work on ourselves. Yeah,
we were lucky. We were key workers.
Yeah.
So we operated.
That's what you're working with.
Yeah.
Them, so
because we were supplying hospitals.
Yeah.
So we needed to keep things moving, but it was just penny really didn't drop as how I was seen as a leader, as a person, really until then. Yeah. When these people were coming to me,
need you,
and they were absolutely terrified.
Yeah.
And it was like, what are we doing? What? And they were terrified of coming to the office. But then they were. And I had several people were struggling working from home because they were living alone.
Yeah.
Some people, and it was, bless them. They all of a sudden they were, and in time, if I'm going to go off track slightly here, but if you get into management because of the money, which we all probably did get into management for the first time, it doesn't keep you in. It doesn't keep you in it because it doesn't motivate you. It doesn't keep you engaged.
Yeah.
And be ready for some of these situations where people come to you with questions and problems that you are thinking, wow, I didn't think I'd be having to deal with this.
100%. Yeah.
So it was quite humbling during that time. And, I wouldn't badmouth anyone, how anyone dealt with that situation, because none of us knew what we were doing from top to bottom.
And we just had to have any answers, whether it was honest of I've got no one, but it was, and do you know what it is that we I guess had the privilege to speak to a lot of people in that situation, and we spoke to so many people who work for companies who dealt with things like you, where it was just transparent, they were honest, and you know what, if there were no answers, but they kept in touch, and they had some FaceTime with them or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Other companies didn't, and other companies go furlough. I didn't hear for me 9 months, and there for me, when you talk about the Great Resignation, it was because people were waiting for a moment where they go, right, you gave me no loyalty, I'm not giving you any, I'm moving on.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I saw that with some certain suppliers, handled it brilliantly. Certain suppliers, just bless them, didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Certain customers were great. Certain customers were panicking. It was just, and it was. I mean, with our guys, we've done a weekly update. Weekly update because the rules were changing. we were getting dizzy in what we were saying, and then the rules would change. And people were. So it was. So we were just a weekly update, weekly email out to everyone, just to make sure to let them know we're all still here. Even to the guys on furlough, an email, just guys.
Quizzes,
this is what's happened. This is what's happened this week. This is what we're doing next week. If you need anything, get on the phone.
But seems like a mad time, isn't it?
It was crazy, and I'm so pleased we're out of it.
Oh God, 100%. But like you say, I think everything you learn lessons from everything, and like I say, I feel like we're probably like yourselves you're a stronger version of yourself than you were at the time because you've built up good habits and good processes. And likewise, I think most of my conversations now, my staff are more a lot of mental health and a lot of just general mentality. Trying to keep them positive and trying to keep them sort of motivated. I guess it's.
I think I'm more aware. I'm more aware of people's mental well-being now, after COVID than when I was before.
100%.
I'm
Yeah.
more aware of my own. I'm more aware of my colleagues and and my teams.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened.
Yeah.
I think because I went through my own problems
Yeah.
and come out of it and thought, wow, now it gives you an appreciation when people are going through problems. You think, no, I can understand. I can understand how that's happened, and we'll give them time, and we'll give them support. But now I'm more aware because I don't want anyone to go through it.
Yeah.
I don't want
Yeah.
anyone to have any problems.
Uh-huh.
We can only do so much being an employer, but if you can help in any way, I think
Yeah.
it's good. I think we
What
should.
what would you say? Because you mentioned it, I completely agree. The reasons for there's right and wrong reasons for getting into management. What are you motivated by now? By the way, what's your most enjoyable aspect? Would you say of managing? Because it's a tough job.
Yeah, well, I always want to do it because when you're on the tools, when you're on the tools, you just want to you're always after chasing the money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Extra few quid an hour, a
Yeah.
little bit of a bonus for that overtime there. You're always after it. So you think getting the management will get a better pay, and that's why probably you get. That's why, if I'm honest, that's why you get into it, because you want
Yeah.
more money. But that doesn't keep me motivated now. And it didn't take long for me to realise, if you get a pay rise after a few months, I could do more of a pay rise. It
Yeah.
doesn't keep me motivated. It's building teams and seeing people progress, promoting and sending them on training. That I get a buzz. I get a buzz out of that. I get a buzz out of building teams and empowering teams, and just seeing them grow and seeing them achieve things. And you think, well done, well done.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's nice. It gives me a warm and fuzzy feeling inside when you see guys smashing it, and you
Yeah.
see them leading, and you see it, and you just sit back and watch, and thinking,
Yeah.
that's nice. It's good to see.
And obviously, like you say, you've played a part in that, which is massive.
Yeah, I like to think I have.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, but you're always there. You just say, look,
Yeah.
you take them to one side when you can see them, and the characters.
Yeah.
You have a management team. You always get the guys who need an arm around their shoulder
Yeah.
every now and then. But then you get the guys who they like a kick up the backside.
Yeah.
I do. I'd rather that. I don't want to be arm around my shoulder. Oh, you're doing great. I'd
Yeah.
rather someone say, right, this is what you got to do, and this is when you got to do it. But right, I'm going for it.
Yeah.
And you just need to know how to deal with people like that. Yeah, but that's why I get a buzz out. I get a buzz out of working and developing the teams. I mean, I've built some, and looking when I look back at MTL team I had there, it's a fantastic team. I loved them. But the guys at Barkell, in the northeast, they're an amazing bunch, and
Mhm.
and we grew together so much,
Yeah.
and we progressed, and had a little running joke we had when there was ever a problem. Someone would just say Avengers Assemble, and then all the managers would get in a room and say, right, it doesn't matter who's made the mistake, but let's get together and find a solution and help each other out. And now I'm here at Daikin up in Cramlington. I'm starting it all over again, bringing
Yeah.
that sort of style that I want to bring, and they're buying into it. They're doing great, and it's exciting. So I like get up in the morning, you got a spring in your step, because when things are happening,
Yeah.
and
Love
it's
that.
nice. It's nice when things are happening.
Yeah.
Keeps you engaged.
You mentioned obviously a while ago in terms of, like I say, it's gaining levels of respect is difficult when you're younger.
Yeah, yeah,
It can also be it's difficult to get respect of a team, whoever you are and whatever experience you have. It's all a challenge. Did you find it easy because you went through because the different sorts of routes into management? You obviously went the
yeah,
apprenticeship and trade route, and then
yeah.
obviously went to university. Do you think that was a good choice for you to be able to do that rather than the other way around of people who go academic first and then straight to management?
For me personally, it was the only way I was going to do it.
Yeah.
It was the only way I was ever going to do it, and I played to my strengths. I know I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm good with that. I'm not the best. I wasn't the best mechanic, but I'm competent at fixing things, and can turn my hand to most things like my dad.
Yeah.
And just make things happen. So when you're in manufacturing, if you can do that, the majority of the workforce there are going to be the guys on the shop floor.
Yeah.
And if you can do what they can do,
Mm-hmm.
they wouldn't tell you this, but there's always a sort of a mutual respect for one another.
Yeah, of
When
course there
you
is.
can,
I've done it.
um,
Yeah.
and my wife, she's always moaning because I'm always ruining shirts, t-shirts or whatnot because of the type of person I am. I'll be every day. I walk the shop floor
Yeah.
every day. I've always done it. I was taught that when it was Henry told me to do it. As a manager, always know what's going on. So I walk the shop floor. But if I walk past and there's a guy on the punch and he's having troubles, it doesn't take much for me to be on my hands and knees down there, giving him a hand, up a ladder, getting involved. Not only, it helps me build relationships with the guys, but selfishly, I enjoy it.
No. Yeah.
I'd rather be doing that than sat in an office in a meeting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So but 10 minutes helping him out,
Uh-huh.
brilliant. I can do it. But it does help me build my relationships
Yeah.
with all the team, not just the managers who report to me, but all the guys to the lower level.
Yeah.
Um,
It's interesting that, because if someone said, if you met someone holding and said, "What do you do?" Do you know what I mean? What do you say?
right. Yeah. So I've realised that the 8th of January this year is the tipping point for me.
Yeah.
After the 8th of January 2023, I have now been in an office management leadership role longer than I've been a mechanic.
Oh, right. Okay.
And I've always thought of myself as a mechanic.
Yeah.
People say, what do you do? I've always mechanic. People assume it's a car mechanic, which is not a problem. I'm a mechanic. And then when I got into leadership, I changed that phrase to mechanic by trade, but I'm
Yeah.
now quality manager. I don't know why. I just hung on to that word. I think it's because, that's what I feel that was
Attach
what
yourself to it.
defines me. Yeah, it
Yeah. Yeah.
defines me as a
Mhm.
person. I fix things. That's what I do. I'm a
Yeah.
doer. So after the 8th of January this year, I've now realised I've been in an office longer than I've been on the shop floor. So I was like,
Yeah.
oh Christ. I think that's part of the reason why 2 weeks ago, mid-January, I'd done a week on the shop floor building a prototype with a couple of lads out there.
Wow.
Um, for genuine reasons, not just for my own personal reasons because I enjoyed it, but for genuine reasons. But it's helped me to understand that prototype. We've got this new product we're developing it. So I now know every nut and bolt of that unit. But it's also helped me understand the nuances of the shop floor here at Daikin.
Yeah.
So those four days I was on the shop floor, I learned more about the shop floor in those 4 days than I have the 6 months I've been here previous, because you get the feel for the rhythm, the processes, the relationships between the departments on the shop floor. So being able to do it is a massive advantage for me because I've got that skill. I obviously use it as
Yeah.
much as I can to
Yeah.
help me progress. Now, that's not to say if you're an academic and you're a very efficient academic,
Hmm.
it's not to say you won't be successful.
Yeah.
It's just play to your strengths.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. 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 It's good advice. Yeah. So next time someone asks you, ops director, is that
Yeah. I think it might be I'm an ops director, but mechanic by
a big
trade.
out of trade? Yeah. Yeah. It's funny, because if anyone ever asks me how I was going to work in recruitment, and sometimes my wife
Yeah,
will say, "Why do you ever say like you're in a business?" I'm like, because I work in recruitment. Do you know what I mean? Like it's one of those. So yeah, no, I agree. It's one of those, isn't it?
my wife always corrects you because I'd say, I just look after a factory. That's what I
Yeah.
say. In
Yeah.
the pub,
Yeah.
well, what do you do? I look after a factory. And
Yeah.
then people move on.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know he's an operations director. So,
It's funny, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned obviously your dad a couple of times. You mentioned obviously, your parents were quite, as mine were actually, quite forceful in terms of getting where you needed to be, because I think we all need a push when we're younger sometimes. Has he been a big motivator for you, would you say, throughout your
My
career?
dad.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah. My earliest memory is me riding around on a trike in a factory he was working in. I think and I asked, because when I asked him about um, I asked my mum last night. I said, what age was it when I started going to work with dad? She was like, probably 4 or 5.
Yeah.
I started going on a Saturday morning with my dad, just on a bomb around on the trike, sit on people's laps. But then little did I know that that was it. I've always, before I started work, I always was working with my dad. It was firstly, I started when I was 13, working in his factory every Saturday, 6 in the morning till 12. But then from that age, I would work some holidays with him. And he
Yeah.
worked long hours, 6 till 6, Monday to Thursday, 6 till 3 on a Friday. And I was, and I'd always do it. And if I wasn't at work with him, or if I wasn't playing football or doing sport, I was working with him at home.
Right.
I was just holding the umbrella while we're under the hood of a bonnet, or while he's changing a tire, or I was standing at the bottom of a ladder holding a screwdriver. My mum done the mum thing with my sisters, and I just was my dad's
Yeah.
like
Right, I'm man.
lackey
Yeah.
labour.
Yeah.
And that's how I was. And it's I think if I even now when we work together, we'd like fit the bathroom, fit the kitchen. I think he still struggles sometimes to realise that I could probably do it.
Yeah. Exactly. The
You
pride
hold
piece.
that.
Yeah.
I just stood there with the torch. But he's a massive influence. He's always my old man grafted. He'd done a lot of hours and he worked just to help provide for me and my sisters and give us a good life. And he was a clever bloke, and he wouldn't. I just hated school, and I wanted to drop out. He said, "Look, you're not dropping out if you've got nothing to do." So I started A levels. And then he found the advert in the paper for the apprenticeship,
Yeah.
and and pretty much every job, every serious issue, I've always given my dad a call, or if he comes up once a month because he loves it up here, and when we walk with me and him, often brought the dogs out, and I just bounce off ideas from him. And he was a machine shop manager in a factory to his to his early 50s, and he just jacked everything in, and he just went around doing handyman jobs. He can turn his hand to anything.
Yeah.
He was one of those people who could have done anything he wanted.
Yeah.
But he was happy, and
yeah, it's amazing.
he was a big influence.
It's I like it when there's an obvious link there. Do you know what I mean? So, sometimes we don't realize it until we reflect how much.
Yeah, no, I think I've always known it because I've always just been. I could just remember, I'd always love it if the Six Nations was on, or if there was a match on a Saturday, because I knew he wouldn't be doing any DIY. It means I could just sit and watch the match. I knew I wasn't a job to be done. I'd have a bit of time off. But he taught me a lot. We used to do everything: lay patios, fit kitchens, fit bathrooms, and anything, fixing the cars.
Yeah, and that'll be where your work ethic's from, obviously. So yeah, no.
Yeah, and also because I'm probably not academic, so I've always liked doing. I've always liked the smell of a factory. I know it sounds strange, but I've always liked that drum, that the sound, and when it's complete. And it always unnerves me when I come in, really early, or if I come in, in the weekend and the factory's quiet.
Yeah,
it just unnerves me. It doesn't feel right.
Yeah,
when there's not that beat that you get. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, look, that's a lovely time transition into sort of some quick fire questions.
Yeah.
I always say quick fire, not. But yeah, sort of. 3 things would you say that make up a good leader? 3 things, 3 words. Anything springs to mind?
Quick. Right. Okay. 3 things. Communication. Being able to communicate. Essential. Honesty. For obvious reasons. But one of them being because, if you start fibbing, you forget what you're saying, and then you just get found out very quickly and lose all respect. Third one, probably a little bit different, but I'd say being able to hold people accountable.
Okay.
If you can't hold people accountable, then you're going to really struggle as a leader.
Yeah, great.
Being able to have those difficult conversations.
100%. I'm going to change this one up slightly because we've sort of touched on it. Can you think of any challenge it might be a technical challenge, anything sort of might be Barkel or Daikin where you are now, where you've had like a challenging technical issue you've had to resolve and how you've resolved it? What do you say? Might be improvement you've made, something like
that. No. I'll tell you what, very quickly, I'll talk about Daikin. And it's not really a problem it's not really a business problem, it's more a personal problem. And that'd be re-establishing yourself as a leader.
Yeah.
I mean, the people here are fantastic, and I do love working here. But for me, I've got my own challenges to be able to build relationships as quickly as I can, because you need to hit the ground running. Yeah. You're not given the opportunity when you move from a senior role to another senior role. You haven't got the benefits of knowing everyone for years and easing your way into that position. I've got to get to know people quickly and get to know who my performers are and where I want to where I want to improve things.
Yep.
So that's probably been my biggest challenge I've had.
Like that.
But it's exciting. I'm
Yeah,
enjoying
yeah.
it.
Yeah, nice. Excellent stuff. And how do we improve the future of manufacturing? Because, like I say, we mentioned he's got his supply chain issues. We mentioned,
Yeah.
what's it's tough on that, but
Right. I'm not going to give you an answer for this because if I knew it, I wouldn't be sat
that's a
here.
fair point. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But I tell you, I've got a gut feel. I've
yeah,
just got an inkling, and I don't know the answer, and I'm and I'm probably going to get an influx of blooming LinkedIn bloody requests after I speak about this. But I really feel that manufacturing in the UK is lagging with technology. We're great with Teams and we're great with Zoom meetings,
mm-hmm.
but on the actual shop floor, if I look at my house 20 years ago and
Yeah,
look at it now, look at all the technology that's in my house with smart meters and TVs and all my Wi-Fi hub glowing, at
yeah,
home with all the things we're linked into. But then when I come to the factory, has there been that much change in the last 20 years? Probably not.
yeah,
And that's partly down to us as leaders because you don't know what you don't know. You
yeah,
don't know what's out there. Also because it's expensive. So for big companies, your
mm-hmm.
big multinational organisations and this and whatnot, there. But
Yeah,
for your smaller businesses in manufacturing, it's an expensive risk to take to
absolutely.
jump in and invest a lot of money into new technology when there's no one else using it.
Yeah,
You want
yeah,
to be the first.
mm-hmm.
So I feel like everyone's sitting back trying to wait to see who's.
Yeah.
I think we just need to be a bit braver in manufacturing.
It's a little
Jump
bit
in.
like it's a little bit like renewables. I was speaking to Sam Reynolds actually, who was on this podcast before, and he works for a brilliant business in PLE, and he was saying they put solar panels on their roof probably a year ago, and they'll probably save that it's worked out. They save 100K a year. Do you know what I mean? And they were
Yeah.
sort of almost trailblazers to some extent in the area for that, and but the cost to do that is
But and then we're looking to do it here. But it's why? What? That's a simple one. Why has not all our commercial buildings got solar
yeah.
panels on? I don't know the answer. But you look at it and you think
Uh-huh.
should be an easy one, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's difficult, isn't it? Like you say, when the amount of now it costs to run a business and investment, it's expected to
Yeah.
accumulate. It's a real
Yeah.
balance. It is. It's a tricky one, but no, I
Yeah.
agree. I completely agree. It's a big challenge.
But now
Normally
I'm
we
going to
have
get a load of
you are
guys on
right.
LinkedIn now chucking me with all their ideas.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Oh no.
Normally, I have a guest question, but I actually had a
Oh,
podcast cancelled, rearranged yesterday for next week, and I had the previous question gave a question for her, and it was very HR related, so I won't give you that. So I've actually got a staff question. So I asked Vicky Richardson, is one of my senior managers. So her question was, if you could give your younger self advice as a new manager starting out, knowing what you know now, what would it be?
trust in your teams.
Yeah,
Trust in your teams. Allow them to make mistakes.
like
I know
that.
it sounds a little bit strange that because you don't want people to make mistakes, but allow them and trust them
Like that.
because you're not going to do it all yourself, and they won't learn until they start doing it.
Yeah, excellent. Love that.
Yeah.
And we mentioned it a couple of times. I know they've got a great reputation. Plans for next sort of year or two? What's happening? Some good stuff on the cards, is it?
Yeah. Yes. Plans. Busy year ahead. We're already nearly, full.
Yeah.
We've got serious, some big projects coming up. Very exciting. We've got the prototype that you'll probably see announcements go on LinkedIn once we've bottled them off and we've got the actual final product. But yeah, we hope we've already got orders for these units,
Nice.
which is fantastic. So we're really heavily involved in getting that. It's nice because it's at the moment it's taken over all of our lives at the moment here in the UK, but it's exciting.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's exciting, and we're looking at how we can. We're really pushing continuous improvement as well. So I'm pushing visual management onto the shop floor, and there's a real good buzz, which is
Good to see.
exciting. So I'm enjoying things, and it's nice. It's funny because I'm now working for a Japanese company, and it's funny seeing the differences in businesses because the Japanese are very 5 years. They're very long term and they're very supportive, and And that's it's interesting to work like that after working for American businesses for a very long time.
Yeah.
And very short term, which is needed. You need to always hit your targets, but the Japanese are very long term and they consider and they remember everything, and I like that.
Yeah, like
so,
it.
and I'm enjoying to get involved with them as well because of the lean. Where else you can learn this stuff or develop your skills in lean and Six Sigma.
Love it. Well, look, it's been I've really enjoyed it. It's been amazing, and it's one of those podcasts where A, people learn from, B, every now and again I get a leader. I just think whoever watching this would love to work for you, and that's just not being spoken. In terms of the passion you've got. Obviously the way you work with your team and the way you obviously empower your team, I just think it's brilliant. So, thank you, mate.
Thank you.
It's been brilliant. So, I appreciate it.
Cheers. Thanks very much. Thanks for having us. It's good.